G'day, I'm James Sacker. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on some of the things that will help you plan a charter and get the most out of your charter experience. First off, it's great to go and dive with a couple of your mates or more, and make sure that you've got guys that have got pretty similar ability to you. It's no use if you're a 10-metre diver sitting in a boat full of 30-metre divers, because you won't be able to get the most out of it. You certainly won't get the fish that you're after. So get guys with similar abilities and similar goals, both chasing the same sorts of things. It's great to research the various operators that there are. There's lots of different charter operators around Australia and overseas, and the internet these days gives you the chance to check forums out and really see who's a good operator, who's looking after people and putting them on the fish, as well as actually being safe and looking after people. The next thing you need to be thinking about is the right season for the fish that you're going to chase. So if you're going to go up to the Swains or the Bunker Group or the Southern Barrier Reef, you're really looking at the best times as either spring, especially late spring, or autumn, mid-autumn. The winter there, the southeast winds tend to blow very hard, so you can have bad weather. The water gets colder and sometimes the fish don't turn it on. So yeah, that's the thing to do. Again, you've got the internet, so you can do a lot of research. Wind, weather and temperature will all really affect how much you enjoy your experience. The good thing with you going to places like the Swains is that as long as you can actually get out there, you can always get in the shelter of the reef and get some diving in, even if it is windy. But of course, it's much nicer if you pick a time when the water's warming up, the trout are firing up, and the weather's a lot nicer. Another thing with charters is your cabin selection. The best cabins are always down the bottom of the boat and as far to the back of the boat as you can. This place rocks the least amount, and you get a better night's sleep. If you end up in the gorilla pit up in the bow of the boat, it can be pretty hectic if you have bad weather. When it comes to checking your gear out, it's always good to use familiar gear. I see people go on charters and they'll get a brand new 5-rubber timber gun with wings on it that they've never used before, and they'll go out and miss everything because they just haven't used this type of equipment before. You're best off to stick with stuff that you know, that's tested. Make sure any gear that you're going to take away, that you test it thoroughly at home before you get out in a situation where you can't replace it. Try to use gear that's interchangeable with your mate's gear. So if you all have rail guns, you're all using 7mm shafts and same sort of size shooting line and crimps and things like that, it's great because you can take the one set of spares for all of you and have good backup. The other thing to do, of course, is to take a good medical kit, depending on how remote you are and what sort of location you're going to. If you're going to the tropics and doing coral diving, you're going to get coral cuts. You really need to look after these with betadine. You need to look after your skin as well, because diving day after day you'll get rashes, so things like the triple B cream to treat rashes is great. Aqua Ear is almost an essential in the tropics, to make sure that you use that at the end of each day's diving to stop you from getting ear infections while you're away. If you're going to really remote locations, you probably should also get appropriate antibiotics from your GP to treat infections that could get out of control if you can't get back to civilization. The other thing to think about is packing up your fish at the end of the trip. So you want to take nice fillets home from most of these locations, your coral trout and things like that. Some people take cryovac gear with them on the boat. This can sometimes cause a bit of irritation for skippers and deckies, so check about that sort of thing before you go. At the very least, take good quality Ziploc bags, marker pens so that you can mark your catch up. It's also good to discuss at the start of the trip with everyone how the fish are going to be split up. Are you going to take your own fish? Is all the fish going to be divvied up between everybody evenly, or what have you? So that'll save a few arguments if you sort that sort of thing out. The other handy thing that you can take along is a little handheld GPS. If you find some good spots and you want to go back and revisit them, then that little handheld GPS is great to put you back on the spot. Safety is a really important consideration when you go on these charters. So first off, you need to find a reputable charter, not a cowboy operator, someone who doesn't put people in harm's way. And you'll see this sort of thing on the internet forums. It becomes pretty obvious who is safe and who isn't safe. You've always got to dive with a buddy, especially in these locations that you're not familiar with. It also really helps with things like sharks if you've got your mate there next to you in the water and you've shot something, and it also can really help you get more fish, as often you shoot one trout and more trout will turn up. I'm always asked the skipper, you know, what's going on, where you're going to, what sort of places, what sort of things you should be expecting. Don't pester him, but try to get as much information out of him as you can, preferably while you're having a drink in the evening when he's not too stressed. Listen to the deckies and listen to the briefings. Also, if there's more experienced people that have been on the charter before or been to these locations, try to listen in on their conversations and join in and find out you know, what the go is with where you're going. And when you're out diving, stay together. Don't all swim in different directions and make it a nightmare for the boaties to have to pick you up. Again, with sharks and currents and things like that, perhaps possibly bad visibility out at sea, you've got to stay together. It's a big ocean out there. Don't push your limits as well. Some people get into clear water and they might be used to diving a more moderate visibility at home, get into clear water and want to go crazy, especially if you see a lot better divers around you that are going to 30 metres and taking fish. Always dive within your limits. Don't push it. You can always go back and get another fish tomorrow, but not if you're dead. A float and flag, obviously that's very important. A big float, a big bright visible float is great. So don't get something that's really low profile to the water. Give the deckies and the boaties the best chance to actually find you while you're out there. Think about signals, hand signals that you're going to use. If sharks are a problem where you are, you want to be able to keep your gun in the water between you and the shark. So usually a raised hand waving means come and pick me up because you've got shark trouble. If you just want to be picked up as a routine pickup, you have your gun in the air. So it's good to agree on signals like that so people can tell the urgency of whether you're in trouble or whether it's just a routine pickup. Plan your dive and then dive your plan. As Craig Barnett says, that's the way to do it. Plan the dive, what you're going to do, where you're going to do, who's going to go boating and how you're going to rotate around and pick up the fish and all that sort of stuff, and then go out there and actually dive that plan. And you'll find you'll get a lot better results. Alcohol, you know, lots of people like to have a drink when you go on the charters, and it's good to have a drink, but don't turn it into the world's most expensive pub by writing yourself off and not being able to dive properly, as it's a waste of money and it's also quite dangerous. Alcohol will dehydrate you significantly, and that can really impact you, especially in the tropics when you're going to go dive the next day. So enjoy a drink, but don't go crazy. Dehydration is a real problem, especially in the tropics. I find it's good to have one sports drink a day. You can get small bottles, 250ml bottles, have one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and then plenty of water in between. So I think that's the best way to go with rehydration. Drink plenty before you go for your dive in the morning as well, and plenty when you get back on the boat, so you avoid feeling pretty crook from the effects of that. You can also go, of course, to locations that are cold water diving. I've been to the Chathams in Northern California, and both of those places are extremely cold, and you really need to gear up appropriately if you're going to enjoy that sort of diving. If your wetsuit's too thin, you've got holes in it, your gloves aren't up to scratch, your socks aren't up to scratch, you don't have wet weather jackets for when you're travelling between spots, all these things will really take away from your diving experience. So there you go, I hope that'll help. That's a few little pointers on charters, and get out there and enjoy our big wide world.